respected elder brothers and sisters, and particularly my Mataji. Yeah. I always describe her as my Mataji. Yeah. Because I think a selfish reason, she very much praising me. So I call her my Mataji. And then, number of my long-time friend, I can't remember, you see, each person's name, but their face, you see, very much printed in my mind very clearly. So, as soon as I met these people, so I immediately noticed how much change in their face because of age. Then it is some of my old friends. When I met, their face looks very old. Then I must sort of remind myself, I also now become old. But important is one's life should be meaningful. So we all, Buddhists call, you see, we all have the Buddha nature. So on that basis, you see, firstly, you yourself practice in order to materialize or strengthening the Buddha nature, Tathagata Garva. For that, main practice is understanding about reality, ultimate reality. That's quite similar. Quantum physics. Quantum physics, very helpful. So daily my practice or meditation about shunyata, I also, you see, combine some of the quantum physicists to their view. They say there's big gap, appearances and reality. So that's exactly now Nagarjuna's theory as well as Arya Asanka's theory clearly mentioned big differences, appearance and reality. Because most are destructive emotion, very much based on appearances. So the antidote of that to know the reality. So then there's one. Another is altruism. Altruism, whether Buddhist or non-Buddhist, or whether believer or non-believer, even animal. Those animals who have more compassionate sort of mind, then these animals much happier. Like dog, you see, more compassionate attitude. Then many dogs surrounded. Some dogs always barking, and then they become lonely. So, and then we human being, the social animal. Now some scientists also say basic human nature, because we are social animal, so basic our nature is more compassionate. That's what scientists say. So the teaching or essence of all major world tradition carry same message of love. And for that, use different sort of philosophical views. So all major religious tradition, since they carry same message, therefore, all major religious tradition should have sort of live harmoniously with mutual respect. So religious harmony very important. So now whether you call ethics or in any way, our very existence is very much based on rest of our community. So now today, of course, the memory about the Radhakrishnan. 1956, I came India on Buddha Jayanti celebration. That government of India organized, and the chairman of the committee was Radhakrishnan. So I feel, I always used to telling Indian, now India should have the sort of study more about ancient Indian knowledge. Now modern Indian, some extent I think modern Indian, too much sort of, too much sort of follow materialistic life with materialistic education. So modern India should pay more attention about ancient Indian knowledge, how to tackle our emotion. So over 3,000-year-old India's tradition, ahimsa, karuna, these related with our mind, our emotion. So India have the opportunity and ability to combine modern education and ancient Indian knowledge, how to tackle our emotion. So Radhakrishna, I think one example, he thoroughly educated modern Western education, become some professors or something. I think Oxford University. Meantime, you see, he learned ancient Indian knowledge. So some occasion, when we together, you see, he recite some Sanskrit shloka verses with certain sort of tune. Really wonderful. But meantime, if may I say so, when Radhakrishnan recite some Madhyamika Mulakarikas, some verses, and he in Sanskrit, he sort of recite, and I felt, oh, the meaning maybe I know better. We study many years, so that's in a way disgrace. What we respect, admire. You see his Sanskrit sort of recitation, Madhyamika Mulukarika. But one way I felt, oh, the meaning, we study many years and practice daily. Therefore, we know even better. So here, one example, combination, modern education and ancient Indian knowledge. Now basically, Indian knowledge, over 3,000 years, ahimsa and karuna, already there. And that also not through prayer, but vipassana. That means analytical meditation, analyze. So that's, I think, something very unique and very, very important. Now, there is ahimsa and karuna. Today's world really need, you see, these two things. Without karuna, and then often violence comes. So, the previous century, First World War, Second World War, even before that, in the European continent, a lot of sort of fighting. Now today, still fighting, killing. And the worst thing is, in the very name of religion, like Shia and Sunni, or in Burma, Buddhist, Muslim, and Egypt, Muslim, Christian, like that, is the very name of religion, you see, killing each other. Unthinkable. As I mentioned earlier, all religion carry same message of love. So therefore, we really need India's tradition, ahimsa, combined with karuna, not only just prayer, karuna. So my commitment is to try to make contribution as much as I can to entire humanity on the basis of the concept of oneness of 7 billion human beings. Each of a human being want happy life. I don't know what sort of suffering or unhappiness or mental sort of disturbances. So these, you see, the antidote of these destructive emotions from birth, we already have the sort of a potential there. As I mentioned earlier, human nature, more compassionate. So therefore, we pay, now question is, pay more attention these inner value, more like compassion. Compassion automatically bring also the forgiveness, tolerance, these things come. And the real sort of compassion is, you see, towards troublemaker, or so-called your enemy, genuine sense of concern of their well-being, that's genuine compassion. Towards our friend, some sort of sense of concern of their well-being is more or less attachment. So genuine compassion without attachment. So therefore, towards your enemy, genuine, they also human being, human brothers, sisters, they also have a right to be happy person. So yet, because of their fear or because of their anger or jealousy, create some problem. So you should, instead of feeling anger, feeling sense of concern. They also want a happy life, peaceful mind, but they see too much negative attitude towards me. So therefore, you should develop more sense of concern of these troublemaker. So as Shantadeva said, your enemy is best teacher. It's very true, very true. So that, again, India's tradition, secular way, make distinction, sort of faith and secular thing. Whether believer or non-believer, and believe this or that, it's a secondary sort of question. Or important is we are human beings. We should have the sense of one community, and then develop sense of concern of entire 7 billion human beings. So my number one commitment is try to promote these things So 1960, 59, I reached Mussoorie, 1 year, remained there. Then 60, I came here. Government of India arranged this place. Then the late Avapant is a great friend since 56. So he once he told me in South Ashram, one room, seeing the plane. He expressed to me, oh, now from this place, your sort of light can reach wider place, wider area. At that time, I felt, oh, it's just sort of the expression. But it seems now, 60 years passed, now, number of people really showing me loving kindness, and scholars, religious leaders, scientists, many, they are showing interest about my thinking. And the Buddhist philosophy, I consider academic subject, not a religious subject. So number of scientists also now showing interest about, like Patita Samupand, interdependency. So these things, and as far as external thing is concerned, the scientists highly developed. But internal thing, science, modern science, not yet reach, not yet develop, special paying attention. Even early part of 20th century, scientists, special brain specialists, they do not accept beside brain something sort of like mind or chit. They never sort of they pay attention. Everything, only brain. Now, later part of 20th century, number of scientists now paying interest or accept there is something which affect our brain. That's our mind chit. So now some scientists now begin to carry some research work. For example, people who meditate during that period, it's some examination about what situation about their brain and what's changing. And then at the time of death, some people after clinically dead, but body remain very fresh. Sometimes 3 weeks, 2 weeks. So the Moscow University, some scientists, they pay more attention. So they establish one sort of place in Bangalore. Whenever some people in that area, mainly monk, who after death, clinically after death, still body remain fresh, so they already carry some project to examine. So, and also like Wisconsin, the university's brain specialist, Richard Dickinson, since many years, he examined. So now these people accept, beside brain, there is something which really affect our brain, and that is something, more or less separate, independent from this brain. So this ancient Indian knowledge, I consider academic subject about the peace of mind, also very relevant for a healthy body. So, therefore, the other day, I met the local, I think, Himachal police. So he told me some sort of problem in this state, drug problem. So these are lack of knowledge how to bring peaceful mind. So they simply relying, taking, drugs. So this clear indication. In school, not as a religion, but as a sort of academic subject to bring inner peace through that way, healthy body and also longevity.
No, longevity.
So I think India, you already have the potential. Now pay more attention about ancient Indian knowledge. So Radhakrishnan, one example. So I really very much sort of honor to participate to this function. I am not going to say much. I think sun. I think many audience, you see, find some difficulties about too much sun. Okay, so I will stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Holiness. We have a lot of questions for you.
Yes, some question. Yes, written question or direct question.
After these, then some direct questions.
Oh, yes, okay. Yes.
So, Your Holiness...
A question and also argument. Then I want to show you, as a student of a Nalanda tradition, and we very much sort of study about logic. So if you raise some controversial thing or argument, then you will know my brain.
So before the argumentative Indians, Your Holiness,
okay.
I want to start with a question from one of the youngest members of our audience, Tenzin Pasel. I think only 5 years old, and the question is, Your Holiness, how can we stop all the factories producing plastics? And what advice can you give to children to protect animals of planet Earth?
Animal. Now it is quite, one way, quite serious, global warming. And one way, quite sort of encouraging. Many young people, many students now really showing genuine concern. Under the Swedish girl, Hasa.
No.
But that Swedish girl, wonderful, really wonderful. So young people seems to say more open mind. So old people sometimes everything fixed here. So it is quite serious. But still, you see, we need more awareness through paper or like that. And I think a newspaper also, you see, have the responsibility to educate people, not just, you see, controversial news. Besides that, some articles about, you see, these serious matter. Then the newspaper or radio, I think, have very good opportunity to educate people, public.
And about animals, Your Holiness. The question was about protecting animals.
Ahimsa, India's tradition, India's vegetarian food, wonderful, wonderful. But meantime, in the name of economy sort of development, looks, when I flying, it seems some poultry. right? Poultry. You see more house poultry. So you see people. And then on road, we can see some chicken. So now India, in the name of more development, or you see more meat eater, I think people should pay more attention. 1,000-year-old India's tradition of vegetarianism. Non-vegetarian, I think Chinese food is much better. But vegetarian food, Indian food is much better than Chinese. China, almost none non-vegetarian, delicious food.
Thank you, Your Holiness. The second question is also about children. The question is from Professor Neera Bhalla Sareen, I think. The question is, my greatest regards to His Holiness, to whom I bow down. I want to ask how to inculcate ethical values in children from 6 to 16 years. 6 to 16.
Basically, you see, as scientists say, basic human nature is more compassionate. So, very young age, I think they really love. It's a smile, affection. Without that, they can't survive. And as soon as we're born, mother, you see, mother take full responsibility, or with sense of infinite, or say they compassionate, sort of taking care. Without that, we can't survive. So our life starts that way. So young children, I think they also, you see, I think very fresh about, you see, a compassionate attitude, one another, play together. I often used to mentioning, one time in pathology in Switzerland, also different nations, Palestine home and the Jewish home are side by side. You said, no problem. They play together. So the problem is, once these children join education, in education, now not much pay attention about basic human value, which in child's mind very much fresh. Oh, then you see in education field, you see now they make emphasis, educate people, children, different religion, different nationality, these things. So I have some critical view about existing our education system, which very much oriented about material value. That not adequate to teach children about our inner value. So they are from birth, the inner value very much alive. But once join education, no longer talking about these things. So in education, should include education about warm-heartedness. And now plenty of reasons about scientific finding. So we have a lot of sort of reasons to educate people. The warm-heartedness not only bring peace of mind, but also, you see, healthy body, like that. So that India have the ability, not something learn new from outside, but just to revive ancient Indian knowledge, ahimsa and karuna. Okay.
This question, Your Holiness, is also about teaching. The question is, as a teacher who teaches professional ethics and human values to engineering students, how can I motivate and convince them to transfer the theoretical knowledge into practice?
We already start some program at Dharamsala with the cooperation, full cooperation with government college there. So we already have some sort of program, teachers training. So now, eventually, I think all India, I think, should include within these teachers' training, especially to pay attention about our emotion. And usually I describe map of emotion. These are your own traditional knowledge, not something new. So only revival of these knowledge.
Your Holiness, this question is about the gap between the master and the follower. It's from Dr. Mohinder Singh. He says, how do we bridge the growing gap between the teachings of the master and the practices of the followers? The gap between the master and the disciple or the follower.
The follower themselves should pay more attention for study. These days, as far as Buddhism is concerned, I'm telling people, we Buddhist should be 21st century Buddhist, not just faith. Buddham Shanam Gacchami, Buddham Shanam Gacchami, not that way. You see, study. What is the meaning of Buddha? What is the meaning of Dharma? For that, the Four Noble Truths, in order to know Four Noble Truths thoroughly, you need knowledge about true truth. Ultimate truth in Kasa.
Ultimate truth and the conventional truth.
Like that. So, see, Buddhists, particularly with Narendra tradition, you see, each point should examine, not faith. Buddha himself, you see, expressed to us, "Oh, my follower, monks, scholars should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation and experiment." That's very scientific way. So, like that, and is the believer, including Buddhist, you see, should pay more attention for study. And instead of sort of faith, yes, not instead of that, you must develop the logical approach. Even Buddha's own words come, we should express why he said that. So not yes. So Buddha himself, as I sort of mentioned earlier. So Buddhists, and particularly in Narendra tradition, we must also to develop question mark, why? Then further investigation. So some Narendra master even rejected some Buddha's own teaching. If we accept particular Buddha's teaching, it goes against the reason. So we reject Buddha's own word. Buddha taught that for particular audiences, not genuine his teaching. So many Narendra master rejected Buddha's own teaching. So now many information about mind, about psychology, about logic, about philosophy, similar quantum physics. Now these quite useful. These original source, Buddhist sort of literature. But we should take these as an academic subject, not a religious subject. So then we can use this knowledge for sort of further development of our brain, and including physical health and world peace, individual peaceful mind, and through that way, peaceful society, and finally, peaceful world. Mainly academic way, not religion, not talking about next life, not talking about nirvana, moksha. Okay.
Your Holiness, we have two questions on sadhana or practice. One is from Adarsh in Dwarka. The question is, how can a person make his or her life compassionate and the mind stable? And the second question is similar. How can we develop and stabilize loving energy?
Kasa. According to my own experience, these subjects, not all the certain come my mind. No, from childhood, I think 6-7-year-old, I already start lesson study. So when I start to study, you see, these lesson, I have no interest. I was rather lazy. My only interest is play, run here and there, like that. Oh. Then gradually, I develop genuine interest, and my life become more complicated, more difficult. Then these texts really very, very helpful. So now over 70 years, or 60, 70 years, I really sort of combine my life with these ideas which we study. So very, very useful. So not easy. My case, as I mentioned earlier, at least 60, 70 years I practice. So the result, really immense effect in my mind. When my life passing through difficult, so I can keep peace of mind. So altruistic sort of practice, or through that practice, you see, the whole universe appears something very positive. Too much negative emotion, self-centered, selfish, then suspicion, anxiety, like that. Through that way, the whole world appears something negative. So ultimately, depend on your warm-heartedness, not through faith, but through reasoning, analyze, and with help of scientific findings. And very good. So not easy. As I mentioned earlier, you see, few decades I practiced these things.
Your Holiness, we have 3 questions which are related. One is from Mr. Matthew Cherian of Helpage, India. He asks, how do you remain happy and smiling at all times? Is it only to be with the highly exalted people? That's one question.
Oh.
Another question is, can you please
Yes,
share
okay,
with...
okay.
Sorry.
I have some special pill that brings smile.
Your
As I
Holiness,
mentioned earlier, you see, I think firstly, your enemy, troublemaker, criticizing you, you consider best teacher. Then you see no basis for anger or jealousy. Then some people more success, then oh, very good, no jealousy. Like now Chinese, if you criticize me, I feel sometimes more concerned about their anger. You see, their fear. You see, never feel anger. Like that. So therefore, you see, and then I think first, basically I think a Tibetan, generally speaking, quite because of the joyful way. Joyful. I think then those people who from Himalayan area also you see more generally you see same Tibetan culture. isn't it? So that's, I think, due to Buddhism. You see, since from childhood, we always hear mother sentient being, entire sentient being, consider as dear as your mother sentient being. So from childhood, you see these knowledge very familiar in our mind. And then gradually practice, you gain more experiences. So therefore, my own case, as basis is, as I mentioned earlier, mother-centered being. Then thinking this, then I always think at least oneness of 7 billion human beings. So wherever I go, I always feel same human being, same human brothers, sisters. You know. So daily, when I wake up quite early, 3:30 usually. Then come out after my bath, because of the bath shower, and then go outside my room. And then, you see, first sort of people are police. So I usually, whenever I met police, I do this. And then shake hand. Then is I teasing them. So long, human face there, no need sort of say, introduce or not important rank, just a human being. I believe strongly oneness of 7 billion human beings. With that, wherever I go, or whenever I meet some people, I feel we are same human brothers, sisters. And I teasing like that. And some police more serious. So then, firstly, I smile. And then their response still more serious. Then I do this. Then they smile. Like that. So, whenever I meet people, no barrier, we are same. If I consider I'm Tibetan, I'm Buddhist, and particularly I'm His Holiness the Dalai Lama, then too much thinking that way, I myself isolate, lonely person, foolish. Much better think I'm just a human being. So meet another human being, then smile.
Your Holiness, this question is from Gautam and Brigna. And the question is, can you please share with us the ethics of living as a couple? The ethics of living as a couple.
I think both have responsibility. So firstly, sometimes I think in California, one Christian was a teacher. He usually, you see, helping marriage. He asked me. Then I told, we discussed. The marriage should not take hurriedly. Better know each other. Not only attraction from face, but deeper nature of the other. Then, once you know not only physical beauty, but deeper level of the person, you develop, both sides develop some kind of trust or deeper respect, then marry. So we agree that. So like that. And then the inner value is more important than outer beauty. Outer beauty you can make some artificial. And inside full of anger, then no use.
Your Holiness, now there are some questions which are slightly more provocative or even political. This question is, despite your presence in India for 60 years, why has the education of dharma, culture, and philosophy gone down in this country?
그렇죠. I think, you see, they degenerate, I think, Buddha Dharma, and all, I think, teaching. They mainly, you see, pay attention about ritual and some temple. So in Dharamsala area, a lot of temple of Hanuman. I don't think Hanuman have certain power to protect you or to protect India. I don't think. Sometimes I feel population of monkey now increasing in some area, in Dharamsala area also. These suppose soldier of Hanuman. So sometimes they quite sort of disturbances, take a flower or some other things like that. So India, I think, generally speaking, not pay much attention about the real meaning of Dharma. But still, however, the ahimsa and karuna, I think, become part of Indian culture. So therefore, religious harmony and comparatively peaceful society. I think 1,000-year-old India's tradition, ahimsa, really, you see, impact India's masses. So then, religious people, I think, should pay more attention for study, or not just sort of recite some mantra or some prayer. It's just part of the practice. Real practice is transform of emotion. That's real practice. Okay.
Your Holiness, we do not have cordless mics for the audience. So how many more questions can we have? One or two more questions?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Here's a question. There are a lot of questions about the state of the world we live in today. You know, what is happening to the world? Why is there so much violence? So I can sum them up with this one question. Where is our world headed to? Is there hope for durable world peace? And this is from a lady from the Mr. I think Mark Messenger from the German school.
Huh? I always feel the existing education on modern world. I think modern education developed in Western world. So at the beginning, the separate education institution started. I think at that time, it is quite balanced. Faith, inner value is concerned. Monastery and nunnery, they take care. And then eventually, after sort of industrialization, then they need separate education institution. Then they develop this institution. Then they are mainly focusing about material development and science and technology. So then, since the very education is very much oriented about material value, I think that's a mistake. So education, not as a religious sort of education, but as I mentioned earlier, about psychology, about peace of mind. And these, as an academic subject, should include in our education field. Then, after, you see, I think 20, 30 years, generation who come through that kind of education, I think, I'm quite sure, different sort of kind of people. Existing education, just talking material, not talking about, in this case, here in India, they accept your part of your culture, ahimsa, but through education, no particular sort of, the emphasis on these things. That's, I think, a mistake. So India need some kind of revolution about our education system, I feel. My latest commitment is try to revive in education field. These ancient, as I already mentioned, India can combine ancient knowledge about mind, ahimsa, karuna, and then modern education combination. Then these mental quality should not consider as a religious subject, but academic subject. Then?
Your Holiness, there are 2 or 3 questions about religion. And about religion, and why is religion causing disharmony in the world and violence?
I think, you see, I respect all religion because I fully committed promotion of religious harmony. And one example, India, religious harmony there over 1,000 years. So therefore, the over billion populated nation, religious harmony kept over 1,000 years. So therefore, now I think the society where different religious tradition already there, then you see the people already have this sort of concept of several religion. Then those country where only one religion, then their mind is just one religion and one truth. In the society, we need a concept of several truth, several religion. So like India, I think from childhood, they already know several truth, several religions. Okay. There's some area, like some Muslim area, one truth, one religion. That's only Muslim. So historically also, you see, when Muhammad and his son and some of his relatives, already, you see, start some fighting and using sword. So now, same Muslim in this country, because from their childhood, they already have the several truths, several religion. So therefore, in this country, I never heard problem between Sunni and Shia. There's some Muslim country, simply isolated, so just one truth, one religion, then this conflict is happen. So more wider contract, then these things will change. I feel that.
Your Holiness, last question from Priya Man. How does one live a good life?
Because a good life, I think, beside talking brain and good food, good clothes, and good sleep. And then, Oh, good. Oh, yes. So then good companion. Okay. So, but we have this special brain. Oh, simply as a physical comfort, not sufficient. This sophisticated human brain. So for that, you see, knowledge, as I already mentioned, you see, how to bring inner peace. And when destructive emotion come, how to tackle. These are ancient Indian knowledge, not just to pray to God, but sort of the self-discipline, right? And training. So you Indian, modern Indian, now should pay more attention about ancient Indian knowledge. It's not sufficient just to say ahimsa, ahimsa, and karuna. More sort of study about the whole system of our emotion. Now here, quantum physics also very, very helpful. Like that. Okay.
Thank you, Your Holiness. I just want to read out 2 comments. They're not questions. The first is, thank you for answering my question before I could ask it. And another comment from somebody called Warsaw. Only one word I know that has no match, love. I love you from here to eternity, forever. Keep well, keep warm. That's a message for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. One lady. Yes.
What happened?
My love and all our love. This is all I can give you. Love, love, love. I think it's the best word in the whole world. This is my thing. And Warsaw, by the way, is a city. It's the capital of a country called Poland.
Of course, we
Thank
were
you,
just there.
Holiness. Thank you very much. I'm stupid, I know, but I love you so much and my friends here.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
So, okay.
May I? Yeah, okay.
So basically, you see, altruism is beside or secular way, beside religion, altruism is a source of happy life and very fit human society. Then, according Indian tradition, we also have the idea of life after life, no beginning. You call Atma. We call subtle level of consciousness, no beginning. Any consciousness as a sort of, the product of cause and condition. Right? So there must be continuation. Without that, you cannot sort of develop consciousness. The material matter never become continuation. Right? Substantial cause. Similarly, particle is substantial cause, must be particle. So consciousness must be same nature in order to carry as a substantial cause, like that. So therefore, then particle also, you see, the whole galaxies come from particle. So when galaxies not yet develop, the empty space we call space particle, already there. So go that way. So similarly, consciousness also is the same sort of substantial cause, must be same nature. So therefore, the moment conceptual take place, the consciousness there. So there must be previous continuation of consciousness. Now that we can, some cases, I sort of ask some scientists the cause of conception, time of conception, the mother's egg and father's semen both no damage, no defect, and concept. Is it sort of show that just concept take life or not? Some scientists say that's not show. Concept take because of the concept because of the meeting the eggs and semen not necessarily bring life. So that shows there must be a third factor. Now, what's third factor? The science not yet sort of carry research. But we say because there is continuation of life. So then due to karma, the parent, the male and female, you see, going to have karmic link, become father and mother. Then that subtle consciousness enter on that conception. Then life start. So that subtle consciousness, as I mentioned earlier, is the no beginning. External matters also no beginning, no end. Similarly, consciousness also no beginning, no end. That's the basis, is the concept of rebirth. Without the idea of Atma. Atma, you see, there are cases who remember past life. So therefore, there must be something. Then this physical, and with this physical, this mind is something new after conception. So then the self must be completely independent from this body and mind. That called Atma. So now Buddhist viewpoint, without that kind of concept, the subtle mind, no beginning, no end. So that's the basis of rebirth, like that. So ancient Indian school of thought, there's a lot of debate whether there is Atma or not. And then when we describe self, and then you see, what is self? You know, I think the other day also I mentioned one occasion, some audience, one old lady, she asked me, her mind too much sort of stress, too much problem. So then I asked her, where is I? Where is yourself? She says, here. Then what kind of shape? Round or square? And she says, round. The Buddhists also, you see, a lot of investigation. Where is self? What is self? So then, basically, you see, self is just a mere discriminated. So, everything dependent, not absolute. So, one unique Buddhist school of thought, as Patita Samupad. Everything interdependent, interconnected. No independent existence. This Nagarjuna's. Now quantum physics also, you see, very helpful like that. Okay, thank you.